Are you a parent of a child experiencing any form of developmental disability? Do you find teaching maths very difficult to your child? Do you wish to teach math skills to your children to enable them to lead a life of independence and dignity? Then this video is for you. In this episode of Skill Building series, today we are going to talk about math skills. The lack of mathematical skills due to some disability can put a lot of distress on school-going children. So let us, through this episode, learn various aspects of mathematical skills, especially in children with developmental disabilities. So stay tuned. Welcome to my channel Dignity in Disability. And I'm Nurada Deshpande, mother of a young man experiencing intellectual disability, and I am also a professional, a clinical psychologist, counselor, and a special educator. I'm founder of Care and Care Life Skill Academy, and this pandemic turned me into a digital disability life skill coach. Through my channel Dignity in Disability, I bring 2 weekly episodes of Tuesday Facts and Friday Facts. These episodes are for empowering parents of children with disabilities with various skill building techniques so that they can learn and teach their children in the way they learn. And the topics I discuss here are out of my 30 years of association with disability, both as parent and a professional. And today's episode, we are going to talk about mathematical skills. Mathematical skills are very important for leading a very independent life. Not every children have the mathematical skills to the optimum level. Some have mathematical difficulties like dyscalculia, while others may have difficulties in mathematical skills as a result of some developmental disability. So let us look into the various aspects of this mathematical skills through a presentation. So math skill training to children with developmental disability. Mathematical skills can be classified into 2 components. First is verbal component, that is number knowledge, counting, computation, and reasoning. Whereas non-verbal components can be maths notation, reasoning in time and space, and also complex computation. Let us learn about some of the mathematical disabilities. So maths disabilities are learning disabilities which impairs certain aspects of maths skills, especially relating to understanding the mathematical terms, how to perform certain operations like addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, etc., or understanding some of the symbols, and with counting and grouping of objects. That's one aspect of mathematical disability. And children who are diagnosed for mathematical difficulties may have difficulty in also sequencing certain information and or events, or also understanding certain concepts, also concepts relating to time, space, and organizing information. So these are some of the aspects of mathematical disability. A mathematical disability often goes unnoticed till the child is in 4th or 5th grade. So mathematical disabilities may be involved in problems with grouping the objects. Some of the objects belong to certain group, and counting the objects, then recognizing the number symbols, copying numbers, using arithmetic signs correctly, understanding maths terms and operations, following sequences of mathematical steps, learning multiplication table, and also decoding written problems into math symbols. These are some of the common difficulties found. Let us see some of the signs and symptoms which you can see in your children experiencing mathematical skill difficulty. They find trouble in recognizing numbers. They also have trouble learning number names. Number facts are slow to develop. Your child always uses fingers or counters to find the answers. Counting difficulties, poor understanding of sequential order, from where to start counting and till what number you have to count. All these things can be difficult for them. Not understanding one-to-one correspondence. Then unable to add and subtract with counters. Unable to add and subtract with counters. Difficulty in understanding that adding and subtracting are reciprocal operations. When you subtract, you're also adding, and when you're adding, you're also subtracting. So that is a reciprocal operations. And trouble learning and remembering the rules and orders of mathematical operations. So when you're performing certain mathematical operation, there are certain rules laid down, like subtraction and addition from left to right. For example, if you're going to solve a elaborate mathematical problem with brackets involved, and then there are square roots and squares involved. In such cases, first you have to remove the brackets. There is a common rule called BODMAS. Such rules are something these children are not able to understand and follow through. So, how to diagnose your child if your child is experiencing any mathematical difficulties? If you feel that your child has some of the symptoms we discussed earlier, then there are two ways of diagnosing your child whether they have a mathematical difficulties. The first one is to talk to the teachers and school authorities, and if they have certain problems, then you can ask them to find out strategies which will help them to learn those areas of mathematics which they find very difficult. And if you find that these strategies are still not working with your child, then you should go for a psychoeducational assessment. What happens in a psychoeducational assessment is they try to find out the root cause of those difficulties, and they will find some suitable intervention method to that. Mathematical disabilities can be treated in two ways. My first approach is accommodation approach, and the second one is interventions. Accommodations are changes made in the classroom to help students work around their weaknesses. That is accommodation. Whereas intervention is to help students address their areas of need so that they can overcome them. So, what are some of the accommodations that can be done in school? Accommodation for a math disability might include use of manipulative objects like do and hands-on learning with them, and then use of real objects for patterns in sequencing, then use of graph paper to help align numbers, number lines and examples in lessons, addition and multiplication fact charts, and then use of calculator. These are some of the ways you accommodate the child so that they can work around their difficulties in mathematical and calculations. Intervention for a math disability typically is in addressing the core learning difficulties, that is grouping, counting, sequencing, through direct instruction. Direct instruction teaches skills in a targeted and well organized way. And finally, through drills and repetition, repetitions provide children with the opportunity for guided practice and cumulative learning. These are some of the things you can work with therapists and also at the school setup. So, what can you do to help your child at home? First is avoid memory overload. Only assign manageable amounts of mathematical work to your child so that they don't get overwhelmed. Build retention by providing review within 1 or 2 days of teaching that skill for the first time. Immediately review them and give them feedback. It will be easier for them to learn and incorporate them in their practice. Provide very supervised practice so that they will not wrongly use certain rules, and that will not get reinforced. Make the learning very meaningful by teaching the concept and also applying them immediately. If you teach them counting, let them count them in real terms so that whatever they have learned in theory, that can be put into practice. And reduce processing demands by pre-teaching component skills of algorithms and strategies. So before you teach them some strategies or some certain complicated skills, break down them and teach them in parts and explain to them the operations much before you teach them the actual concept. Help student to visualize math problem by drawing. So if you want to teach counting, or if you want to teach on aspects of numbers, the amount, so you can use drawings or sketches, or for concepts like big and small or tall and short, you can use drawings. Use visual and auditory examples. Both you can use for your child. Then use real life situations that make problems functional and applicable in day to day life. Many parents are very enthusiastic to teach multiplication table to their children, but unless they know the application of multiplication table, it is very futile. They will have a very robotic learning. So teach them multiplication table when it is necessary so that they can use them in their day-to-day functioning. When they go out and buy certain things, then they will know the use of multiplication tables and they will put it to use. Do maths problems on a graph paper to keep the numbers in line, and then use uncluttered worksheets to avoid too much of visual input. Practice with age appropriate games and motivational materials. You can play card games, Uno, etc., which will encourage them and motivate them to practice. Have students track their own progress. Challenge critical thinking about real problems with problem solving. When you teach some concept, ask them to use that in real life situation. For example, if you have taught them division, then you can ask them to divide certain number of mangoes among certain people in the household, so that they will know how much is remaining, or what is the denominator, what is the numerator, and what is the divisor, etc. All these aspects they will come to know. And finally, use manipulatives and technology such as tape recorders and calculators. That brings us to the end of this episode on mathematical skills. If you found value in this video, please go and like this video and also share it with other parents so that they can benefit out of it. And please leave your comments in the comment box, which I will personally attend to and answer you. Subscribe to my channel if you have not done so far, so that you will be the first person to get all those videos when I upload them. And please do visit my website www.anuradhadeshpande.com and also join my exclusive Facebook community, the links to which are given in the description box. I'll see you this Friday with another episode of Friday Facts. Till then, goodbye. Take good care of yourselves.